Hello, all, and welcome to your weekly astrological forecast with me, Manic. Today, I'm going to be doing the week of Monday, May 4th through Sunday, May 10th. So let's get started. So Monday, May 3rd. The only exact aspects we have are Mercury conjunct the Sun at 14 degrees Taurus. The Moon is in the late degrees of Virgo, and it'll enter Libra today. And so about this Mercury Sun conjunction, I just want to say that there's sort of a distinction between the Mercury can conjoin the Sun when it is passing the Sun close to us, and it can also pass the Sun on the other side when it's farthest away from Earth. And so these two types of Mercury Sun conjunctions are very different. This one, you can see with this lovely website that Mercury is on the opposite side of the Sun from us, so it's about as far away from us as it ever gets. This is a heliocentric version. This is a geo or Earth-centric version. So you can see on both views, Mercury is on the other side from the Sun. So what that means is Mercury always represents the mental energy, communication and translation and electronics and day-to-day activities, stuff like that, commerce to some extent. And generally when Mercury's by the Sun, when Mercury's close to the Sun, it's usually very strong. Mercury translates the energies and the intelligence from the Sun, so they kind of go hand in hand. But one exception to that is when Mercury is with this aspect, if Mercury is on the opposite side of the Sun, it's almost like it's being kind of burnt out or blinded out. You won't be able to see it, of course. So it's almost like Mercury gets kind of overpowered and it disappears from our perspective. So, and this is, Mercury's going pretty quick right now, so this is mostly just pertaining to Monday, but the mental energy might be kind of frayed, or there might be a lot of frenetic energy or nervous tension or energy. Maybe a lot of people are just too busy right now. They're doing too much than what they can handle, or maybe even just mentally, people might be kind of burnt out on one way or another. What else? The economy in general is very volatile right now. I mean, I don't think you need me to tell you that, but it was interesting last week. I could see the Mercury-Uranus conjunction, and I thought there'd be some volatility in the market, and the gold stocks went way up, but all the other stocks went down. So that was interesting. I couldn't predict that, and that's a theme that will probably continue with as we get further into the Uranus and Taurus transit. It's an 8-year-long transit that we just started last year, or I think the year before. But we're seeing the value of some commodities go way up and the value of other commodities go way down. And it's sort of unpredictable which ones are going which direction. And I think that's only going to continue. Certain things will skyrocket in value while other things plummet. But anyway, so we start off the week with this Mercury Sun conjunction. Feeling a little bit frayed or overly busy. Moon is in Virgo too, so that can kind of add to that. Very mercurial. But then by the end of Monday, the Moon moves into Libra, so that kind of that's kind of nice. It sort of leaves the aspects. In Virgo, you had these trines, so there's a lot of strong grounded energy over the weekend and going into Monday. Going into Tuesday, May 5th, Moon moves into Libra, so now you have the Moon and the Sun are both in signs that are ruled by Venus, and Venus is in Gemini, so we're taking pleasure in the intellectual things. I think we want something different. A lot of us are bored or restless. We want something intellectually stimulating. We want to have new experiences. Maybe some new experiences that are light and not so heavy. Venus in Gemini is very casual, very light, very intellectual. It's the social butterfly. It likes to go here and there. It likes to learn new things. But it's very light. I think people are craving this. Can't we just be casual and light? Can't we just have some fun type of thing? And this just gets reinforced as the Moon goes into Libra. We want peace, balance. We want just to be social and lighter and not worry about such heavy things all the time. The only aspect we have on Tuesday is Moon trine Venus at 20 degrees. Oh, yeah. So that'd be later in the day. And yeah, that just kind of reinforces what I was just saying because, yeah, Venus is just very prominent Tuesday. You've got Uranus, Mercury, all and Sun all in Taurus, which is ruled by Venus, and then Moon in Libra, which is ruled by Venus, and it's making this really nice, strong aspect to Venus later in the day, in the probably evening. Um, so, so yeah, just like I was saying, people are just wanting to relax. Like, can't we have a good time? Can't we just chat, be chatty, be casual? Um, there's also this kind of loose grand trine between Mars, Venus, and the Moon in air signs. So um, there's good flowing energy in social endeavors or maybe technological endeavors. Maybe people are finding pleasure in chatting online. Maybe people are talking to people who they usually wouldn't online, and that could actually be lucrative or lead to positive experiences. Um, something like that. Going into May 5th, let's see, I think later in the. Oh, whoops. Sorry. So early in the morning, May 5th, or this is actually saying it's right around midnight. So that's where I was confused. So either very very late May 4th or very very early May 5th, we have the nodes switching signs. So around midnight, the night uh, of May 4th, um, we have the North Node moving into Gemini finally, and the South Node moving into Sagittarius. So we've already been feeling the effects of this. It's been pretty obvious or pretty physical or pretty literal. It's been a pretty literal. You have the North Node. North Node's been in Cancer for about 2 years, so it's been sort of inflating the prices of property and houses. So going into May 5th, you have the North Node entering Gemini, so it's taking that good luck energy away from Cancer. So the past 2 years, you would be rewarded if you bought property or owned property. You'd be also rewarded if you lived more on your emotions. Cancer rules emotions. Cancer rules the home. Cancer rules, home prices. Um, so we were almost encouraged on an energetic level to be more, to just be more focused on like, well, what do I feel like doing? And it's that simple. It's a very simplistic energy. What do I feel like doing? Does it feel right? And sometimes it is good to follow that. Sometimes, you need to be more, um, you need to take other things into account than other than just what you feel. But sometimes you do need to honor, just what you feel like doing. But that's basically what we were experiencing for the last 2 years in Cancer. And the South Node was transiting Capricorn, so it was bringing up all these more difficult issues with our governments, our leaders, our societies, our hierarchies. Um, there was extra trouble and issues coming out that needed to be dealt with in those areas. Now it's switching signs, so South Node and Sagittarius, people are going to be traveling less. It's going to be harder to get a good education. Sagittarius rules education and long distance travel, and we can already see that those are probably the two areas that have been hit the most from this whole episode is the long distance travel and the higher education or even lower education has just been totally it's now facing these huge issues and so now the good fortune or the luck or the easiness and the area that would be most lucrative or provide the most growth is now Gemini because that's where the North Node is. And the area that's having more trouble and things more challenging situations that need to be dealt with is now Sagittarius. So short distance travel ruled by Gemini is more favorable. Getting things delivered to your house, that's very Geminian or Mercurial. What else? More just basic, more local, more short term or short distance. All these things will be more auspicious with the North Node in Gemini. And again, this lasts for 2 years. And then again, long distance travel, higher education will not be so lucrative for the next 2 years. They're going to have more challenging issues. So this is probably just the beginning of it, really. Like, I don't think people are going to be traveling a lot for 2 years internationally. There's going to be restrictions or challenges there. So yeah, what else? May 5th, the moon trines Venus in the morning, so this would be like later in the morning. There we go, moon trines Venus. Venus has just been hanging out at 20 degrees Gemini for a while now, for days. I think for over a week. And it's preparing to go retrograde. It won't go retrograde this week, but whenever you have a planet that's stationary, it's intensified and strengthened. So we've had Pluto basically, I mean, if you think about it, Pluto is pretty much always stationary, or it's almost always close to it. So Pluto's been stationary. Saturn has been pretty much stationary. It's preparing to go retrograde in about a week from today. So, and then you've also got Venus retrograde. I mean, Venus stationary. So, Pluto's intensified, but Pluto's almost always stationary, so it's usually intensified. Pluto's an intense planet. Saturn's intensified, and Venus is intensified. So, there's just more emphasis on, with Venus, what do we value and are our needs being met? We need to have enjoyment out of life. We need some kind of entertainment or pleasure. We need, especially in Gemini, we have social needs, and you can't just sit inside your house all day and do nothing. You need mental stimulation. You need to be social. You need to have new experiences. You need to have a variety. Venus in Gemini likes variety. It's very eclectic. So there's, and I do think May 4th and May 5th that there's just such a focus on Venus that I think people will be finding pleasures in one way or another. Surround yourself with good aesthetics, or find something interesting or entertaining. Find someone interesting or pleasant to talk to. That would be kind of this whole Venus thing. Venus stationary in Gemini with all these planets ruled by Venus. May 4th and May 5th. Going into Wednesday, May 6th, the moon enters Scorpio. Yeah, it enters Scorpio the morning of May 6th. And I don't have any exact aspects, but it's interesting. The moon has been waxing, and in Scorpio there will be a full moon on Thursday. So even by Wednesday, as the moon enters Scorpio, you'll already be feeling that full moon energy. Again, it happens Thursday, but you'll be feeling it by Wednesday. Because even by sign, the moon is already opposing Uranus, Sun, and Mercury. And moon opposed the sun is what a full moon is. So you have the moon very bright in the sky. It will look pretty much full. But again, it won't be full till Thursday. So Thursday, you've got the full moon at 17 degrees Scorpio. So this chart is for early in the morning, May 7th. Moon full at 17 degrees Scorpio. It's also opposing Mercury with the orb of 3 degrees, and then opposing Uranus with the orb of 10 degrees. So sort of these three planets have been, pretty close to conjunct for the past couple of weeks. So the moon is opposing Uranus, Sun, and Mercury. What else? The only Yeah, and there aren't any exact aspects with this full moon. The closest one is moon opposed Mercury. Other than that, we do have, oh, the moon itself, though, does trine Neptune, and then Neptune is sextiling Mercury. So there's this almost like, I don't know if there's even a name for that aspect. There's an opposition, a sextile, and a trine. So basically, yeah, and this happens right after the full moon, technically, but still on May 7th in the morning. So there's this, well, okay, so with Scorpio full moons in general, or to even get more general, with full moons in general, full moons shed light on things. They illuminate things. The night is much brighter. You can see things clearly. So metaphorically, full moons, you can figure things out with full moons. Things are more apparent. They can shed light on things. And especially with the full moon in Scorpio, Scorpio is all about uncovering things and finding the truth and figuring out, how something really works, or tell me the truth even if it's not so pleasant, or whatever it is. I just want to know the real truth. That's kind of what Scorpio is. So with full moons in Scorpio in general, they can be very revealing. You can find out things that you didn't know, things that were going on for months that you had no idea about. And I don't want to make you paranoid. Don't be paranoid. It's good. It's a good thing because you can you can just see things more clearly. Things that you might not have seen clearly for months that you weren't even aware of will now be maybe more obvious, or someone will just randomly tell you something that's very informative or very interesting. Um, so yeah, I like the Scorpio full moon for that reason, and I've noticed that year to year that's a common theme. And especially with this Mercury Neptune influence in the full moon, you have Mercury, which rules information, and then Neptune, which rules the more mystical or intuitive or magical, mysterious side of things. Um, and Mercury's in the very practical, pragmatic sign of Taurus, and then Neptune's at home in the very impractical, ethereal sign of Pisces. But they're both making aspects to this full moon, basically. So, yeah, so you do have this uncovering of what is tangible, what is practical. Some real solid information is being uncovered at this time, especially because Mercury is just kind of peeking out from the other side of the sun. It's leaving that conjunction. Yeah, so I do think it's a good sign, a good time for getting some truth about things or figuring things out, finding some new information. And it could be profound or it could be mundane. It could be anything in your life that you like. I didn't know that before. This full moon will just be good for that. But then you also have the aspect with Neptune. So there's this. If you want to like get into some writing or get into some like meditating or something, I think you could have some mental clarity, but you could also tap into some like real creative juices or something, or because that Neptune aspect kind of makes things larger than life, or just allows you to tap into the weirder, more mystical side of things. But I do think it's grounded with this Taurus emphasis. So combining, what is maybe intuitive or just a feeling, or some fleeting wisp of like weird energy, you can maybe ground something like that, or maybe it's just a suspicion you've had for a while, and you finally figure it out, like, oh, that's why I've been feeling this way, or something like that. Yeah, it's just, I think that's a good aspect for finding truth. This is all Thursday, May 7th. And this is generally the peak of the week. There's always like one day that stands out to me each week, I'm noticing. And this week it's Thursday, May 7th. You got the full moon, like I was saying. And again, you'll be feeling it Wednesday, the 6th, but it's leading up to the 7th. 7th is kind of full moons are a natural culmination. It's the most sort of intense day where you have more accidents on the roads, or, I mean, that probably won't be a problem if people aren't driving, but um, full moons, you have more, like the people say that hospitals are busier, ERs are busier. I've noticed people, especially with air or fire full moons, people will be partying later and stuff. This is a water full moon, so it's like a little bit more relaxed or introverted, but still you'll have people more active, staying up later at night, stuff like that. So just more activity, and it's because it's a culmination. It's because you're getting so much light from both the sun and the moon. So yeah, anyway. So going into Friday, May 8th, you have moon entering Sagittarius early in the morning. And I kind of like that just because it's not really aspecting anything. There aren't any fire planets lately except Chiron, which is not really a planet. So there's been kind of a lack of fire since pretty much since the beginning of this week, since Sunday the 3rd actually. There begins to be this lack of fire. So it's kind of nice. May 8th, moon enters fire, so it lets us feel some jovial Sagittarian energy, some happy, a little bit of party energy. But what's nice about it is it doesn't really aspect anything. It does trine Chiron, which again isn't a major player necessarily. Yeah, but none of the major planets are in fire, so there's no like. I think things should be a little bit casual or a little bit uneventful Friday, May 8th, just because the moon isn't aspecting anything. It's not making those connections. It's not making anything really happen. It's letting us feel that nice, fiery, warm Sagittarian energy, but it's not squaring or trying anything. It's not making anything happen really, if that makes sense. And I don't have any aspects for the 8th either. So yeah, it looks like a good Friday. It looks like good energy for a Friday. Uh, um, just looking forward to the weekend. People are maybe in relatively good spirits with the moon in Sagittarius. So yeah, it looks nice. It looks nice. That's all I have to say about Friday really. Saturday the 9th, moon is still now waning in Sagittarius. It's been waning since the full moon, so still pretty full, but getting smaller every day, or apparently smaller. Saturday, Mercury trine Pluto at 24 degrees. So Mercury's basically nearing the end of Taurus here, and then now that it's nearing the end of Taurus, it'll be trining Pluto on the 9th, and then later it'll have to trine Jupiter and Saturn. But yeah, this is a good thing. I mean, again, this cluster of planets here sort of represents the whole coronavirus situation, as well as the different governments' responses to the situation. And for the last 3 months, before maybe a week or two ago, we had everything in Pisces, which was just making everything confused. Then we had everything in Aries, which was squaring that. So there's all this tension and protests and, people getting upset, people wanting an answer right away, people freaking out. And then now Mercury is finally trining this area. And a trine is a I shouldn't say stronger. It's stronger in the sense that it's stable and positive and just easy. It's an easy aspect. Mercury represents how people are thinking, how people are talking. It represents the media, how the media is reporting on the situation. So this sounds weird, but it's almost like Mercury. It's almost like the media might have a positive story for once, or it might, or even if maybe the news isn't totally positive, there's some positive, like productive point of the media. I think the media would be more reliable generally. I mean, I don't usually trust media fully. Like, always be skeptical and always question your sources. But May 9th, I think that the media will be relatively true, or relatively, what's the word? Basically, the media is ruled by Mercury, which is in Taurus, which is earthy. It's grounded. It's simple and basic, and what it's about, what works, what doesn't. But Taurus wants to know what can I feel with the five senses. What can I see, hear, taste, touch? And if it's not, if you can't prove it, then I'm not going to believe that. That's kind of a Taurus attitude. So that's really good for the media. It's like, we want real information that's actually valuable. And when it's trining Pluto, that means it's having this strong positive influence or interaction with the greater situation that's happening right now. Um, so yeah, I do think the media will be a little bit more reliable um, on Saturday. There might be some kind of story or some kind of different way that people are thinking beginning on Saturday, and it continues for the next several days as Mercury's trying this whole cluster. Maybe people are starting to be a little bit more optimistic about things beginning to open up, um, or maybe there's just some kind of positive turning point where people are feeling stronger for some reason, and I can't say why. But it has to do with the government. It has to do with the coronavirus situation. It has to do with this whole big situation that's been playing out. Some kind of strong turning point with the mental energy, where people are thinking more positively, where the media is maybe reporting more positively, or something positive happening there with the general situation. You also have the moon opposing Venus. Moon in Sagittarius opposing Venus in Gemini. And I guess Venus isn't technically stationary because it's gotten to the 21st degree, but it's very slow. It's like basically stationary. And I like this. I like this. A lot of oppositions can be, like two different forces butting heads, and it depends on the planets and it depends on the signs. But the Moon and Venus are two. They have a lot in common just because they're both like the archetypal feminine planets. Moon is emotions and the mother, and feelings, and it's very emotional, or I mean, it's very feminine. Um, and not saying that all women are emotional or that all men aren't emotional. I'm just saying that's what the moon is about. Moon is very feminine. Moon is very emotional. Venus is very feminine. It's about love and beauty. The goddess of love and beauty, etc. So they have a lot in common. And when they're opposing in Gemini and Sagittarius on Saturday, May 9th, of all the opposing signs, Gemini and Sagittarius can flow together the easiest, and they get along the easiest. They have the most in common in a way because they're both mutable, so they're both adaptable and interested in what is different from what they are. But then they're also both yang, so they're both sort of exploring their environment. So they both Sagittarius and Gemini explore their environment, and they're curious about, like, oh, there's a person that's different than what I am. Like, that's interesting. Let's talk to him or her or whatever. So the fact that they're both like that, and they're both not only willing to accept differences or tolerate difference, but they're also interested or curious in differences in people and stuff. They want variety. They both want variety and interesting experiences. So they both just mesh together really well. So anyway, long story short, May 9th, there's this positive, maybe Venus is going to get what she wants, or maybe people want new experiences. They want variety. They want to have a good time. We don't want to just think about this heavy. It's almost painful to even say the word coronavirus because people are talking about it. Of course people are talking about it, but it's like we've all just been focusing on it so much. I think we're all very aware of what's going on. So I think especially earlier in the week with these Venus, when the moon was in Libra, but also later in the week. So basically, Monday and Tuesday, May 4th and 5th, we have this Venus influence. And then also going to Saturday and Sunday, May 9th and 10th, we have this Venus influence where people just want to relax, or they want new experiences. They want to be social. They want to have, it is necessary that people find some enjoyment out of life. Like, it's not enough just to survive. Like, you have to have some kind of pleasure or entertainment or diversity or intellectual stimulation. You have to be like learning something or having fun in some way. So Venus, I think this moon in Sagittarius opposing Venus and Gemini on May 9th is just kind of reminding us of that. Yeah, it's dynamic and playful, and I think it kind of stands out from the rest of what's going on. Um, so at least emotionally and on a feminine level or like a yin level, people are wanting to just play more and have fun and have some diverse experiences, etc., etc. Um, yep. And then Sunday, May 10th, Moon enters Capricorn, and this is a lot different. It's a lot different than Sagittarius because again, when Moon was in Sagittarius, so basically May Friday and Saturday, May 8th and May 9th, there's this almost like disconnect from the big situation where you can almost kind of escape from it a little bit. Friday and Saturday, um, yeah, people are thinking more positively. There's either positive news about the situation or there's no news about the situation, and no news is good news. So you're either thinking a little bit more positively about the situation, or you're just not thinking about it at all, and you're actually finding something fun to do Friday and Saturday. Going into Sunday, it totally changes where the situation becomes much more relevant than it already was. Um, and it becomes more serious. It's like we need to take the situation seriously again, starting on Sunday, if you weren't already. Um, and it's more, yeah, it's a little bit more stressful or just serious, kind of gritty. And it's because the moon is just entered Capricorn on Sunday, where it is not only in detriment, but it's also approaching these three planets, and I'm thinking of them all as malefics. Jupiter is a benefic, of course, but just in general, this is a very stressful part of the chart, especially for the moon, to be approaching these three um, outer planets, these three planets who are so much farther out, and they're so much more intense, and in a way bigger than the moon, and it's in the sign of the moon's detriment. Emotionally, we would be feeling more stressed or more serious. We would feel like we have to take care of ourselves more like independent, like we have to uh, pull in and just, be a little bit more in survival mode, kind of. Yeah, it's just more serious. Other than that, we have Mercury trine Jupiter at 27 degrees. Yeah, so again, like I was saying, right after Mercury trines Pluto, it begins to trine Jupiter. So that is good. That brings some positive. That brings some positive energy. The Sun is also beginning to start to approach trining Pluto, because after Mercury trines these three planets, then the Sun is going to as well. Um, so although emotionally we are feeling kind of stressed or a little bit gritty, and we're like reminded of this heavy situation, there is some more positive information that's available. I do think we are at a slightly positive turning point of some kind. And it's not. It is a little bit bittersweet, but I think we're making some kind of progress. We're getting somewhere slightly better, or we're at least figuring something out about the situation that is empowering, um, on one level or another. What else? Sun sextile Neptune at 20 degrees. So, I mean, that's not a major thing. Sextiles are kind of fleeting. You might feel it and you might not. You might feel it a little bit like throughout the day. It's kind of like it's there if you want to activate it, or if something activates it. Like if it activates something in your chart, you'll probably feel it. But even then, it's not consistent. So anyway, sextiles aren't a super big deal. There's just this kind of Neptunian. Um, there's this positive interaction between the practicality of Taurus with the etherealness or impracticality of Pisces. Um, so there's this kind of interplay. May 10th, and that's really not a major thing compared to this figuring something out or finding some strong, true, uplifting information about what's going on, but also feeling not like super excited about it, feeling like this is still not preferable situation. Yeah, that's basically what it is. It's like, is everything gonna magically become fixed on Sunday? No. It's still a not so pleasant situation, but we're working on it. Mercury's working on fixing it. We're working on researching it or making some kind of progress. So that's kind of what I see on Sunday, May 10th. And that's what I have. That's all I have for the week, basically. Um, I do want to say next week it should be interesting because even by May 10th, Saturn will be totally stationary because it turns retrograde the next day. Also, Mercury is about to change signs pretty soon, so um, yep, some interesting things happening next week for sure. That's all I see basically. So just to summarize really quick. Monday, feeling a little bit stressed or weird with Mercury on the other side of the sun. That quickly goes away. Tuesday, there's this emphasis on pleasure, like, how I need social interaction. I need some different experiences. I need some kind of fun or, pleasurable experiences. That's Tuesday. Wednesday is the approaching the full moon, where you're beginning to feel the full moon. Thursday is the full moon, uncovering truth, uncovering something I didn't know before, some kind of enlightening information about something. Maybe it's emotional, maybe it's totally not emotional. It's something very physical in your life. Um, Friday, the moon goes into Sagittarius, so it's kind of just it's almost on vacation. It's not really aspecting anything, so it's just maybe a little bit lighter. You can kind of just escape just on Friday. Actually, yeah, it's kind of like a normal Friday. It's like, we're having fun, looking forward to the weekend, etc. Um, Saturday, Moon enters Capricorn, so the tone gets a lot more serious, actually. Um, and we begin to focus more on the situation. Sunday, or actually Sunday, yeah. And then Sunday, things just get a little bit more intense, but there is this strong turning point. This, this more positive situation, mentally speaking. Yeah, so that's all I have for you for this week. I hope that made sense. I hope that helped in some way. Yeah, and I'm just waiting for my microphone to come on Tuesday, so I'm going to be producing a lot more content starting Tuesday. So I'll see you guys then. See you later.